Hello and welcome back to Young Old, the best podcast in the podcast marketplace. Don't say that it's anything but that.
And don't look up the podcast marketplace.
Don't research if you research the podcast marketplace, we'll know you don't trust us.
Well, that reminds me of my old Instagram concept, which was the hottest Dana, and it was the hottest Dana in the world. If you know a hotter Dana, don't tell me about it. Keep it to yourself.
Keep it to yourself.
Oh God.
Yeah. So if you know of a better podcast, we don't want to hear about it.
Two sisters talk about dumb shit. We hope you like it. 'Cause if not, then we'll kill ourselves and the blood will be on your hands. Young Old!
Well, that was my old Instagram. It was a ugly pig troll, and I was like, if you know an uglier pig troll, I don't want to hear about it.
I doubt anybody knows an uglier pig troll.
Okay, well now if you know an uglier pig troll, I might need to hear about it.
Yeah, just to
my
boost his
self-esteem's
self-esteem.
pretty bad right now.
Dude, being the ugliest pig troll, not it.
But being an ugly pig troll with high self-esteem, that's it.
It's impressive. Well,
Yeah.
that is me on Instagram getting, you make me feel so confident, queen, comments.
Now we've moved on from quoting
sorry.
your Instagram to quoting episodes of Young Old from like 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Do you guys notice anything different about me right now?
Well, you washed off all that blood that was on your hands right before we started rolling.
I decided I'm going to try to sit up straighter because
Whoa.
Wow. Do you not like how you're looking in the podcast?
No,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh God.
One of the biggest reasons not to slouch is that it makes you look, sorry about the F word, Ferrariamo.
It looked
Makes
like
look very-
Ferrariamo.
No, but I actually noticed that when we're watching Friends, where like everyone obviously looks really like toned and skinny, but I also noticed like when they're sitting on the couch, they're like
They're like,
yeah, because
That's
nobody
them on
like
the couch.
they don't be caught slouching. Also, the concept of, I was noticing even I both gravitate toward like kind of loose waistband bottoms, and I think for a podcast where we're sitting like this, it's actually really necessary because otherwise you just like would get major overedge.
well, also last week when we were setting
Mm-hmm.
up, we told Eve to kind of sit up a little straight and like scoot closer to us because like, you know, that would be better for the frame. And Eve goes, oh yeah, if I need to scoot closer to you, then how come I'm always in frame on the podcast? And it's like, you're often not in frame
She's
on the
often not
podcast.
in frame.
I'm more of a
podcast.
listener than a watcher.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think, but that's good.
I think that's true.
She's
So-
on the podcast through the listener lens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's-
sometimes though, when she does have a take, Eve will hit you with one of these. Oh, here's what I think about that.
Yeah,
To me, I'm not doing that, but like allegedly I am.
Well, you are kind of like, you have like a certain amount of movement that goes with all your words. You kind of are like Ray Charles in that way. And I don't mean that in any sort of offensive way, but it's
Well-
like whenever you say something, you're kind of like, you get a little bit of movement. You get a little bit of.
Even I have a very Italian way of speaking, I think.
Yeah.
Kind of. Like, and we were noticing this, but like, it's like I choreograph certain movements, but Eve also has kind of like a natural choreography that goes along with
Yeah,
it.
Eve's more like a great
the
like
way
jazz
I've never
musician.
noticed any of this.
Yeah.
I just be living life. I don't perceive.
Meanwhile, Dana and I are
obsessed with
updating
watching videos of
our
ourselves.
Eve observations as well as
Yeah.
our own.
I don't perceive.
Okay, that brings me to this viral TikTok, which Robert actually showed me, but I don't think Robert interpreted it as like even kind of referencing himself. But I was thinking about, so basically the TikTok is why is it that when specifically male Instagram, TikTok, YouTube comedians get really successful, they immediately start incorporating like hot girls into their content, and all of their content becomes like bedroom clickbait, and like they start like doing like for example, obviously he was referring to Churdleys or like Trevor Wallace. That's like
Okay.
obviously who he was referring to. But I was just thinking about how it's funny because like you could actually apply it to Chubbs because this is like literally bedroom content. Like,
Yeah.
and he was basically like, he's like, oh, there's a bedroom in the thumbnail. And I'm like, it's so funny because here you are with the
It's
hottest
also-
girls in the world.
It's also funny you're like, you didn't
In a
apply it to
bed.
yourself, and I'm like. I'm like, yeah. Have you ever noticed how like when male comedians get a social media following, they start doing content with really hot girls, and Dana's like, oh, you mean like me and Eve? And I'm like, yeah, I do mean that.
Obviously, you know, I recognize the comedy in that.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, obviously, I think it's just money. Like,
Well, no, it's
it
like
gets
clicks. Yeah.
and then they get money, and then they're like, "Oh God, I gotta start doing this
Yeah.
more."
yeah.
right,
And in
right.
fairness, Trevor Wallace's podcast is the Stiff Socks podcast, so you can't
Right.
be
He does
interviewing
have,
like,
like-
city comptrollers on that thing. You got to get some
right,
porn stars
right,
and
right.
OnlyFans
Unless
gals.
the city comptrollers are really hot.
Yeah, unless the city comptroller has a big set of boobs.
Can I say what I predict actually in terms of public office? I do think in the next like 10, 15 years, we're going to see a lot more social media figures running for public office because I think it's like they already have like a grassroots team behind
Can I
them.
be honest? I'm going to take the exact opposite prediction.
Okay.
I think we're going to see a lot of politicians move into sex work and OnlyFans.
Oh.
That's what I think.
Or both. Why not both?
Kind of
Nancy
like
Pelosi
ships
show
in the night.
whole
yeah,
when,
exactly.
yeah,
They're
dude.
trading jobs.
Yeah.
I kind of like the idea of like we just like okay, instead of like socialism where we're all like the same, what if like some of us are like kings and then every 5 years, like some of us are kings, some of us are peasants, and every 5 years
It's
we
swap.
switch. Yeah, wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah.
All right.
You've somehow managed to find like a system of like economy that like might be like more unfair than capitalism. Or it might be more fair.
I don't know.
It is like you switch. So I get to live a year as a billionaire
Yeah.
and then a year as like a dirt poor,
Yeah.
unhoused person.
Yes, yeah.
Do I like that?
I mean, I think it's kind of fun and variety is the spice of life.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about all that.
I don't
Like
know.
I think people are so obsessed with like, oh, I just want to be like upper middle class, like comfortable forever. And I'm like, what if you're like really rolling in it and then like really not, and then you're rolling
It's
on
like an
the ground.
up and down.
Yeah.
And that's your whole life. And you better hope that if you have any medical problems, they hit during your rich year.
yeah. Save all your medical problems for your rich eras.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like, all right, it is kind of like, not to bring it back to something that you absolutely hate, but the platform where you're always moved randomly to different places on the platform.
Right.
So sometimes you have great placement, sometimes you have
Wait,
poor
that
placement.
basically is what the platform
It's similar to the
Yeah.
platform, actually.
So
yeah.
it's just that applied to literally every aspect of your
I
life.
think why the platform is so disconcerting is like it's not even the food situation.
Just
It's the
that
fact that
you're
you're in a
trapped in a
room.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That blows.
Yeah.
Like that's the real thing about the platform.
is you're trapped in a place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
and you have to
I-
make conversation.
I wouldn't mind having to like be scrappy with my
That's what it is.
food.
You have to make conversation.
Bro,
with
Yeah,
that would
that would be
quickly become a
huge.
huge problem. Like, what if I'm
Yeah.
paired with someone who like doesn't want to talk about, you know, how streaming is fake, or
Right.
like, you know,
Now I'm
But
thinking
then
about
the
my
next
roommates in the
month,
mental
maybe,
hospital.
Maybe you will. Oh, okay.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Maybe the next month you'll have someone who wants to talk about how streaming's fake.
it's the social element.
That's true.
That's also me. That's my hang up where I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna have to talk to somebody.
Wait, wasn't in the platform? It's like you kind of stay with the same roommate until your roommate dies.
No, I think every month you.
No, because in one of the platforms he's with that old
Sure.
guy
And
and he
the
does
old guy,
befriend, but then the old guy ties him up and starts to eat him.
Yeah. Okay. Spoiler alert.
No, I saw them. I just don't remember. I don't know. Platform's weird.
Yeah.
It's real
I kind of just
sick
wanted to let
minds created that.
Eve go on the platform for as long as possible to just see where she got. I don't know, bro.
Oh
I
my
think you
God,
definitely
it's
do-
just like those are some sickos.
Do you think there's
coming
enough for
up
a
with
movie
that.
in my like billionaire broke person every other year?
Well, it's like it would have to be kind of
Idea.
like ideally it wouldn't be just billionaire and broke. It would kind of have to
Right.
be everyone's economic situation changes randomly at the end of every year.
I
so
love
you just
that.
on New Year's Eve at the stroke of midnight, instead of kissing, everyone checks their bank account to see how much money they've got.
That's epic, right? Don't take that, Hollywood. We know it. We started it.
Don't
Yeah.
make
Sorry.
it boring anyway.
They make it so fucking boring.
They make it so boring.
We'll make it cool. Also, but if you want to give us money to make it, we're open to that.
Yeah. Dude, that reminds me of Eve mentioned that she watched the documentary on the I want to say the assassination of Osama bin Laden. I think you can call that an assassination of the killing of Osama bin
They just
Laden.
like went to his house and killed him.
Yeah. Whenever I hear about like how much work went into killing Osama bin Laden, I'm like, man, I am way too bad an employee to ever have an important job, because there's like that famous picture of just like everyone in the White House gathered around like in the conference room waiting to find out they killed Osama bin Laden. And I was just saying like, man, I know that if I was in there, I wouldn't care that we were killing Osama bin Laden. I'd just be like, damn, I am so late for a dinner right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was saying that there was a guy who was like, oh yeah, like, you know, for the last 9 years that we've been working on this, my marriage has really been going through it. My wife calls and she's like, you got to come to our daughter's concert tonight. And I'm like, I can't. And she's like, you can't leave work for 1 hour. And I know she was looking up how to do this divorce thing, but I just said, you know, turn on the TV. And she said, you got him. And I was like, it was supposed to be like this, gotcha, bitch wife moment. But it's like, you've been ignoring your family for 9 years. Like, there's no way around that.
Yeah.
There's
also,
no
I know
way around
every
that.
single time you were like, sorry, I can't be emotionally available for you. I'm too busy trying to kill Osama bin Laden. And at a certain point, it's like, that's just
like,
you.
Yeah,
well,
that's
I'd
just
love
you.
to check in on where they are now that Osama's gone. Because it seems like in a lot of ways, Osama was actually keeping the marriage together.
Was
because he was providing a valid excuse.
Eve pointed out, like, there's no way that now they're a happy couple and their marriage is fine.
There's no way that after that they were like, oh, we'll patch things up and everything's. Because it's like, he's just going to take on more jobs that, like...
Right. If anything, he'll get promoted
and
his assignments will be more important.
Also, I like to imagine, like, I'd love to hear from other people who are on, like, the bin Laden job who are just like, oh, yeah, my marriage was fine.
Right,
what are you talking about?
There's definitely other guys on the team who they were making it work. Like, they were still spending time with the fam.
They were making their daughter cello concerts.
Obviously, this guy was just like...
Well, there's always that type of guy. Well, there's always that type of guy who loves to blame his failing marriage on his job, even when it's like clearly his own behavior. He's like, yeah, you know, I've been taking on a lot of extra hours at State Farm this month, so you know that's tough on the old marriage. I'm like, why is it tough on your
it's
marriage?
like no one asked you to do that.
Yeah, it seems like you're tough on your marriage.
No, it's always that. Like, no matter what, you were like, oh, this is tough on the marriage. Like, what? It's always the marriage is tough on the marriage.
I like that, like the production team, but behind like Minions: The Rise of Gru was like, yeah, we were making Minions: The Rise of Gru for a few years. I mean, you know, it was hard on my marriage.
No, but I'm sure there are people. I think Hollywood actually. People always talk about this, but they're like, part of the reason that Hollywood productions work such long hours is because there's so many miserable people here who hate their families that a lot of times like the 18-hour days are literally made up by like a showrunner who doesn't want to go home to their family.
Well, I'll say one thing that's really strange in Hollywood specifically is like nanny culture is huge.
Nanny culture is massive.
Like it's huge here. Like people who aren't even like super rich and I know aren't super busy because like Hollywood, it has like uneven hours a lot of times, but like it's like a status thing. Like all these like successful people or even like middling successful people all have to have a full-time like live-in nanny a lot of times.
I always think about how like if you're a successful creative in Hollywood, that means you're working half of the year. Like successful, actively successful and like busy people here, they're working like 6 months out of the year total, really.
Wait, did I tell this story on the pod?
I don't think you did. I was about to bring that up.
Oh yeah, like so there's this actress that like lives in the neighborhood and I saw that I walked past and their like garage is open and the little girl is with the nanny in the garage and the nanny is putting these fairy wings on her and it's like this cute little moment and then I walk past the garage and then I can see into their window that the mom is sitting at a table just like staring like I don't know if she thinks she had her laptop out or something but like her
forlornly 1,000-yard
like,
stare
just a few feet away in the kitchen just stare and I'm like girl like right next to you your daughter is having a core memory with the nanny
A beautiful memory.
Witnessing all of this on my walk with Biter. Just like nanny and girl with furry wings, 2 feet over, mom just staring into distance in the living room.
That's like that is like the perfect tableau.
Yeah.
If any of us were a painter, I guess Eve paints. You should
Yeah,
paint
you
that.
should
But it's
paint
like
that.
'cause
That's
I'm like,
really funny.
What do you mean your nanny is having? Also, like, okay, we're not trying to like be like, oh, don't have a nanny, don't have any childcare. We get
that
it.
she's not busy. Like I literally see with my own eyes that you are not doing anything.
Also, like that's the fun part. Putting on like the fun fairy costume
you're
is
missing,
the fun part.
You're missing like you've lost the plot. But tell them about chapter 2.
What, where they walk with their dog?
No, chapter 2 where you did see her like with her daughter.
Oh, and then I was like, oh yeah, and then the other time I did see her playing with her daughter in the garage, and I was like, slow clap, slow clap. No, the other thing I was gonna say is that they walk with their daughter. The couple walks with their daughter, and then the nanny walks with the dog 10 feet in front of them.
That's so funny.
Also, it's like you can't hold the dog and your daughter.
I guess
like
not.
a lot of it is like finding things for the nanny to do. But Robert and I talk about like all the time, like, dude, so much of like this like upper middle class status or wealth is like people like to find people to employ because it like makes them feel important. Like,
also, I'm sorry, real quick. I just want to specify because if you're not watching this in Hollywood and you're like, what's the big deal? I had a nanny. It's like, no, I had a nanny. There's a specific type of like full-time 24/7 nanny that people specifically in the entertainment industry in Hollywood, and I think New York, it's a whole different culture, but like in Hollywood here where it's like, it's a big like nanny culture.
And let's
it's
add
not
to
just
this,
like having
let's
someone
specify.
watch your kid.
It's also not like, it's not like an immigrant, like a foreign immigrant who is like working to send money back home. It's usually a college graduate between the ages of 24 and 28 who seeks to work in the industry. And they're usually pretty. And that's all I'm going to say.
I'm going to paint a picture for you, and here's what the picture I'm going to paint. And this is not specific to anyone. Pick a random, like young Sheldon. I don't know anyone on Young Sheldon. This is a totally random thing. I'm being so serious. Say I'm a producer on Young Sheldon, okay? I would hire someone who graduated from Wesleyan, a 22-year-old girl who wants to be a writer on shows exactly like Young Sheldon. I would hire her to be like a full-time nanny for my kid. You know what I mean? It's like,
And then every time she asked me about my job, I would act like she was weird.
yeah. And again, there's nothing here that
Yeah,
is
dude.
inherently bad, but it is weird.
It's weird.
It's just like, why? Also, it's a status thing. Like, if
It's
you
just
were
a
a
status
producer on
thing.
Young Sheldon who didn't have a nanny, people would be like, oh,
He's struggling.
do you have a gambling addiction?
Yeah,
Right. Well, and also it's like, it's very much like the more people you have working for you personally, the more important you are. Again, it's like why people I know have no business getting assistants have assistants. Like there are so many like random influencers who they like kind of start popping off and they're like, I'm hiring an assistant. I'm like, literally for what, girl?
Yeah.
Did we say that like you used to drive an actor's kids?
We
to
can't
school?
say that.
That's just an actor.
I can say that, yeah.
Do you think you can say that?
I can say that I
Do you wanna
I
say
drove-
that?
Yeah, like one of my first jobs in LA.
Do you really think he's watching this shit, bro?
I don't know.
But also he like I mean this is true. And I
Well, okay, we don't have to. I don't know.
No, we can. Sorry,
Well,
now
like,
I also
what, I
now
can't
I've
talk
just
about a
fully
job I've
become
had?
the role of like the young old censor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, you
you're a
are the
PR
young old
person.
censor.
Yeah.
You are like we can't say that.
We can't. All right.
No,
Well,
I can say this. This is a job I had. I drove a pretty prominent actor's kid to school for about a year or two. Have I told this? He was going to elementary school at the time, and one time he goes,
the child, not the
the
actor.
child, not the actor, right?
But in this town, you never know.
yeah, I drove a child actor's child to school.
And when I drive him to school, we'd pass by the high school. And one day he said, Dana, in a couple years, that's where you'll be taking me, referencing the high school. And I
Oh.
said, in a couple years, if I'm still doing this, like, I'm like, things will not be good for me. And then he said, then I hope that never happens.
That's sweet
So-
that he said
No,
that.
sweet
Yeah,
kid.
thank you. He said that I hope
And
that
the
you're
actor in
not-
question
yeah.
was nice.
Yeah, no, I really liked working for him. I mean, it was so cool.
Okay, I just think it's so.
Yeah.
And we saw in a movie that he was driving his kid to
yes.
school.
In the movie, we saw
In
this
the
actor
movie,
driving
this
his
actor
kid
was
to
driving
school
his
in a
kid to
scene.
school. And I was watching the movie going, I know you don't do that in real life.
But also like imagining him on the set and they're like, okay, so you're just driving your kid to school like you normally would. And he's like, yeah. So am I like I'm looking at the road or I'm looking at him?
He's got questions
He's
like,
he's
all right,
calling me
so-
on the phone. He's like, Dana, I just have some questions about like, what did you feel? Like,
Or,
how
like,
did it feel
one
to drive
day-
my kid to school?
One day he like comes and like sits in shotgun. He's like, oh, I'm shadowing you for driving.
I have an important role coming
I love
up.
the idea of a director slowly realizing that his cast has never driven their children to school. The actor's like, all right, so I'm driving my kid to school. Am I scared because I have my kid in the car the whole time? No, you're not. You're not scared. You're just driving
scared.
them to school.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm happy. It's like a birthday party for my kid in the car. No.
Yeah, they're trying to do like the emotional replacement thing.
Yeah. And again,
Meisner.
and also more often than not, like there's not, as we say with like a lot of like actors and writers like in this town, it's like there's chunks of the year where like you're not doing anything.
Yeah, you're not
But
doing
yet
these
even
freaking
in those chunks of the
chores.
year, you have a full-time nanny who again is like a 22-year-old improviser.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
But also imagine like his real kid watching him on TV driving the actor kid. He's like, you never did
never did that
for me.
in
Yeah.
real life.
I mean, it is like really funny and kind of crazy to think about.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also, like that was so long ago. I was thinking about that. I'm like, that kid is in high school now. Isn't that so
Wow.
freaking crazy?
Yeah.
And you're not driving him. Congrats.
You should pick him up for old time's sake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Catch a case real quick.
Case
But
real
no,
quick.
it was really cool, and like obviously working for a really like famous person was fun. And he would like make me coffee in the morning before I drive his kid to school, and I would sit there being like, "Wow, if Twitter knew about this, they would be like
Cool.
shook to their core."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also, he was cool.
he was super cool.
Yeah.
and it was a great experience, but just funny that that's a phenomenon.
Well, here's what I'm gonna do is to show my status. I'm gonna hire like 6 nannies. I'm gonna hire 6 of them, and so my
Okay.
kid's gonna move like they have Secret Service protection.
Dude.
They're just gonna have like six nannies behind
Yeah.
them, and
Here's-
me, unemployed as hell, I'm just gonna be watching from afar, like Right on.
Oh, but
Another
I will
thing-
say we will never have a like hot nanny. Like
I was thinking that. I was like,
I always think about that. I'm like, you're inviting
people that,
trouble.
yeah, if I'm the mom, no, we're
and
not hiring
in
the
the
hot
future,
nanny.
okay, if I hire you as a nanny, I'm not trying to
saying
diss
you're
your
ugh.
looks. I'm not
We're
trying
not
to diss
saying
your
you're
looks.
ugh.
But no,
Yeah.
I'm not hiring.
Yeah.
There's not going to be no sexy nannies at my house.
Agreed.
Yeah.
What?
I agree. I
Yeah.
think that's fine. And also, you said like I don't want to have a funny nanny either.
Oh well, that's okay. So the other day I was thinking about. I was really
the
doing.
hot nanny would be replacing
No.
Dana, and the funny nanny would be replacing
Yeah,
you.
you hire like this like really funny, like exuberant, like sharp-witted person, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what? Dana,
What
can I
was
see you for a
this?
minute?
What was this? Wait, but I was actually thinking about. So I was doing the thought experiment of like, would I be upset if Robert like was cast in something where he had to like make out with another woman or like have a love scene with them or whatever? And I was thinking about how no, I don't think it would bother me if he had to make out with another actress. It would really bother me if he had to like riff with another actress and they like really had good improvisational chemistry.
Yeah.
I would show up to set with a GUN. Like
with a pop.
I literally
With a
would be on set
pop-up.
with a pop-up. I think like watching Robert riff well with another woman
Yeah, would
would
hurt
like
more.
actually
That's true.
drive me insane.
I'm in
That's true.
a dialogue scene with another woman, and she does a riff that's really funny, and I go, I'm sorry, can we get an intimacy coordinator in here, just for everyone's comfortable?
I'm that would freaking piss me off. Like that would piss me. I'm getting hot just
coordinator.
thinking about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like
About another woman riffing with your man.
dude, I can't. Even imagine.
I come back from set, and then Dana's like, "How was it?" I'm like, "Oh, the crew didn't even laugh. It wasn't even." And then the movie comes out. And then it shows a blooper reel at the end, and
Yeah.
all
Oh
the
my
bloopers are
God.
like me and her making each other laugh.
Oh my
That would be crazy. That would be absolutely crazy.
I'm getting hot just thinking about
Wow.
it. Like that would make me so upset. Also, yeah, like every day you just have to convince me that she's not funny. Don't worry, Dana. She's really not that funny.
not funny.
She's really not that funny.
And then I'm like, Dana, what about this hot girl? Are you jealous I've seen to this hot girl? And you're like, no, she's not funny.
No, I know she's not funny.
Okay, but
So-
what I was gonna say is back to the Osama bin Laden guy whose marriage is failing. I imagine he is like the showrunner of Minions or something, and he's like, and the wife's like, "Babe, you gotta come for Stacy's game tonight," and then he's like, "Turn on the TV."
It's Minions.
And she's like, "You did it."
Was the wife interviewed in the documentary?
No, he was just talking.
Okay,
about
then
it.
I would bet cash money the wife's real reaction was not "you did it." I
then
bet
she
the
was like,
wife's
"Okay, you did it."
Yeah, she's like, "All right, you did
Yeah.
it. Okay, congratulations,
Yeah.
you did it, Bill."
Are you coming to dinner now?
And he's like, no.
We got a lot of paperwork.
Yeah. Oh, I've got so much paperwork because we did
Dude,
it.
9 years to kill Osama, 18 years of
Do
paperwork.
the paperwork.
Yeah.
Tea. But I'm sure that the Minions showrunner wife was happier.
Yeah,
She's like, "You did it, babe."
you did it.
Also, at least her husband's working on a project that like her kids will enjoy watching.
That's true.
It's
Yeah.
like your kids don't give a frick about Osama
Yeah,
bin
that's
Laden.
tea.
Yeah.
That's tea.
That was. I'm pretty sure there was a whole thing of like. I'm sure this video exists. Actually, I don't know if there's pretty sure, but I'm sure. I'm imagining someone like walking up to like their like 2-year-old toddler and trying to like earnestly tell them that like Osama bin Laden has been killed. And then when they don't care, you're like, you're a fucking traitor. You don't even love this
my
country,
God.
do you?
Wait, but that reminds me of like when people on Twitter would like, people would make fun of this, obviously, but be like, I told my 2-year-old that like Trump is president, and he said, but mommy, isn't he a multiple time convicted felon?
Oh, yeah, people lying
Like
about what their
people lying
toddler
about their
says for
toddler
clout.
Yeah,
is
Well, didn't they? Wasn't there also
crazy.
videos like I told my 2-year-old daughter that Ruth Bader Ginsburg died,
yeah, and
she
she
couldn't
sobbed.
stop
She couldn't
crying.
stop
It's like-
crying.
and she did the
wants a
Wakanda
cookie.
Forever salute.
She's crying because she wants a snack.
She wants
Yeah.
she's a freaking
Because her diaper
hunchies.
needs to
Because
be
you've been
shared.
refreshing Politico instead of feeding your child. That's why they're upset.
Yeah. Well, remember that lady who lied about Matt Rife?
Oh, I was just thinking about
Which one was it? Oh, dude. Yeah, I remember
What
that.
was that?
Wait, it was
I
like
remember
the one where
exactly.
her son like diss Matt, right?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
made her
Yeah.
son like say mean things about Matt Rife.
Yeah,
for
she
views.
like
And then
made
Matt
her.
Rife commented on the video and was like, "Your mommy's a slut."
It's like, all right,
Yeah,
Matt,
yeah.
come on. But she filmed a video where it was her like 7-year-old son reacting to Matt Rife's special, and then her 7-year-old son looking to camera and like dissing Matt Rife's
Yeah.
special. And I'm like, whatever's in the special, it can't be as weird as you making your toddler react to a Netflix special for your social media.
Okay, I also have my take too is I'm like, I actually think it's more insidious to make your child perform for your social media than like even like putting them in child acting, because you're like, you know what I mean? Like you're like,
because that's the real. That's like, it's like they're real.
You're saying like this is who you
like
are.
That's pretend at least.
Yeah.
But social media is, which is why family channels are like even more damaging than like.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, you're being
child
completely stripped of your real identity.
Yeah. And at least with child acting, there's like money being made.
Right.
With a lot of these like family channels and stuff, you're not even making money. You're just
like,
embarrassing yourself.
But like even the ones that are like, I guess there's new laws in California, like,
which is why all of them moved to
which is why they all
Tennessee
moved.
and
But
Texas.
before that, when it was still new, like there was no regulations like there is in child acting. Like you could just take all the money and there's no checks and balances per se.
Shakes
Not
my
that
darn
obviously
head.
they still do that to child acting.
Yeah.
They still be robbing their kids, but you know.
Well, Bella Thorne famously talks about how when she was 18, she realized she had $0.
Bruh.
And but despite having worked for her whole entire life.
Yeah.
Bro.
Bruh.
Really reframes me being 18 with $0, but also having done zero work my whole life.
Right. So
Not
there you
too
go.
shabby.
Not too shabby.
Actually, no. When I was 18, I was low key crushing it because I was a caddy at a golf course, and I would just make so much money,
Also,
even though I
those,
knew nothing
under
about
the
golf.
table cash jobs, like that's really where it's at.
Dude, under the table cash. Whenever I got to, again, caddy for like a group of like old ladies at the country club, oh, it was the best because they didn't care about golf, so they wouldn't get mad at me for not knowing anything. And they were just delighted to they were so charmed by me because I was just a little young gentleman.
Now
and
you
they would pay me
reminiscing
so
about the
much
good old
because it was their
days.
husband's money.
We get it. You
Tea.
peaked at caddy.
Yeah, we
I
get
peaked
it.
at caddy specifically for old ladies. The men were mean to me sometimes.
Well,
And you live with that. And you live and you learn.
yeah, they were jealous of you.
Man,
Yeah,
when I
damn, they were
group,
jelly.
like groups of old women, if only they were like a bigger demographic, because like they love me.
They are a big demographic, and I think they comprise a lot of your Facebook audience. Would be my guess.
Maybe that is the case.
We went to an event where like two women back to back
assaulted my man.
Assault
Yeah.
me.
did a little love squeeze on the bicep.
Well, they would do this to me because I was kind of sitting, like the doors here, and people would walk by me because I was sitting having a conversation, and multiple would do one of these as they walk by, just like. The stroke up the arm, squeeze of the shoulder, move. And multiple women did that.
Yeah,
First
the
one
same
happened,
move.
and I was like, oh, you guys got something going on, you know? And then it was just like, and then right after, literally a second woman did it, and it was just like, wow, this can't be like one after the other. And I was like, Dino, you're just getting cucked, like
cucked.
right and left.
I mean, as I
right
say,
now.
unless you're making my man laugh, we got no problem.
Yeah, unless as
Unless
they
you're
walk
making
by,
him
they try
laugh.
to riff with me.
Yeah, we got no issue. I'm sorry that happened to you.
Nothing happened.
I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Should we talk about One Tree Hill?
We already talked about one.
When?
Last week.
We did?
Well,
Bro,
we
we
were watching
did.
it.
Amnesia?
Robert and I just said that we liked the pilot, and we were talking about how it was really watchable. But we haven't talked about like we like now we're all basically enrolled in it.
Dana and I-
If you'd like to watch along with us,
Yeah,
we're
and
currently
this could just be a
watching
One Tree Hill rewatch.
Yeah, I was actually
podcast.
thinking about that. There already is a One Tree Hill rewatch podcast with the actual cast, so that's probably better.
But their rewatch is always like, we were mistreated on set. This episode was hell for me once the camera stopped rolling. And we're just kind of going to be like, good show.
Which does bring us to something that we always talk about, which is so much of 2000s TV is kind of like retroactively corrupted by the cast being like, just so you guys know, like our showrunner was a freaking pervert, which I am not discrediting. I believe that these showrunners were perverts. That being said, Robert and I always talk about, it would be nice, we're sure that people who aren't perverts can make good TV, but
It would be nice if there was
prove
a little
it?
more evidence of that.
where is it? Like it's like Joss Whedon made great TV and he was bad.
Right. So far, the perverts
so
are
far,
beating the non-perverts by a landslide.
And so we would just like to say that we would love to see more good TV by non-perverts so that we know that it's possible.
Because right now, we're losing
And
hope.
don't comment shit like, well, Marcel's big day on Apple TV Plus is don't make me.
We don't. Marcel's big day is not valid to us.
Yeah.
That's not. We don't think that's valid.
I don't even know what that is.
I made it
We're
up.
kidding. It's
But
made
the
up.
fact that you
But,
didn't
like,
know.
sounds real.
The fact you didn't know.
It sounds
Yeah.
real.
Dude, one time I really got Dana and Eve when we were in the car, and I was like, he was like, what music should I play? And I was like, hey, put on a Stomp That Way by Demi Lovato. And I had Eve up there like searching Stomp That Way.
And she's like a Demi Lovato fan.
Yeah.
So you know it
but
sounded
it just
real.
sounded so real. I was like,
Sounds
oh, it
real.
must be new. It must be a new
Even
one
right
that
now, when I
haven't
say
heard
Stomp
of.
That Way by Demi Lovato,
Sounds real.
you're You're probably humming a song in your head. You're like, oh yeah, I think I've heard that.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't exist.
No, it's not real.
No, it's not real.
It's not real.
exist.
Robert made it up.
Okay, but I wanted to bring up. So, if you haven't seen One Tree Hill, there's an arc where a girl is tutoring a jock, popular boy,
Nerd tutor jock.
and obviously
And
they
you know
get
they have
together.
tension.
Yeah.
And I have a question because she's his tutor. Is there a power imbalance there?
But he's more popular.
I
than
know.
her.
So then I was thinking,
So it's
maybe
like
it
balanced
evens out because
Yeah.
he's more popular.
Yeah.
So then her power imbalance of being his tutor.
Also, he's taller, bigger, and a man.
I guess, but it's like.
No, but he also
But you know what
he
I
gets
mean?
like F's.
She's his teacher.
Yeah.
Also, aside from that, there's a power imbalance because he gets like straight up F's in classes. Like maybe like he for sure has some sort of mental disability, so that maybe also tilts it for her. What's funny is this: there are people who would approach this take genuinely on the
Right.
internet.
Yeah.
They'd be like, "There's a power imbalance."
It's problematic.
But like
If-
when they were like they started dating and then she's like still tutoring him and stuff and I'm like what? And I'm like this doesn't seem right.
like once you start dating, you need to find a new tutor.
Yeah,
You find a
so,
tutor.
so as not to.
And he needs to become less popular, and she needs to
Right.
become more popular.
To
Yeah.
even out the playing field.
Yeah.
And she should also be taller, just so there's like he has
And she also should probably start getting worse grades so that they have identical
Yeah.
grades. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, there's a
True,
power
'cause otherwise
imbalance.
there's a power
Well,
imbalance.
also like how much
They
of
just become the
power
same
imbalance
person.
is like you get that like you're supposed to be in a relationship with someone who has qualities that you yourself do not possess, and then you vice versa.
Well, I remember they tried
Like-
to hit Adam Levine with power imbalance one time because they were like, he was sliding the DMs of someone who was a Maroon 5 fan.
Yeah.
And they're like, she's a fan, so there's a power imbalance. But I'm like, wait a minute. In order for there to not be a power imbalance, they have to be indifferent or fucking hate my music. That's the only
he can't be
time.
with anyone who's ever heard She Will Be Loved.
Yeah.
And liked it.
And liked it. They have
If
to
you
be like.
hated it, we're
It's
good.
fine.
It's
They're
all
like,
good.
songs about Jane was ass. And he's like, thank God, we can go out. Please.
Also, I'm like, yeah, I'm a huge Wait What Nader. Does that mean we have a power imbalance?
Yeah, but I'm also a huge Dana frickin' Donnelly-nator.
So
it
it balances
It all
out.
balances
so
out.
then her being the tutor is balanced out by him being popular.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you being a Dana Donnelly Nader is balanced out by you being a what? Wait, what?
Wait, what, Nader?
I would say like you could find a balance for any quote unquote unequal relationship for the most part, right?
No, I'm with Eve. I think that if you're a tutor and you're dating, also they're the same age. It's not like she's an adult
Yeah,
tutor.
they're the
If
same
you're a
age.
tutor and you're dating someone you're tutoring, you should be thrown in federal fucking
Yeah.
prison.
Dude, she should be Haley James for prison. Haley
Right, I'm
James
just
Scott
like, Haley's
for
not
prison.
very professional in my opinion.
Well, the
That's all.
funniest thing about One Tree Hill is I believe it's Sophia Bush, the actress, plays this like cheerleader, but it is that thing where it's like, dude, they make this cheerleader speak like a 40-year-old femme fatale in like a 1930s noir. Because like it's like a cheerleader, it's the big game, and then she opens her mouth and she's like, hey there, hotshot. You want to come climb in the back of my jalopy and have ourselves a real sweaty, sticky time? Also, do you have the geometry homework? I'm like, you are not in high school.
Brooke Davis do be sounding like that.
I know.
does sound
That
like
was
that.
dead on.
Imagine like no one talks like that in high school.
I mean,
Nobody.
obviously, I do think One Tree Hill is a comedy.
Well,
I
it
think
is a
it is.
comedy.
It's deeply a comedy.
It's supposed to be a drama, but like I find myself cackling so often.
No, it's. I mean, it's
Like,
a deeply
I
funny
find
show.
myself laughing so hard at
Well,
it, like
because
harder
it
than
goes
most
really hard with like the
comedies.
melodrama. But again, it really does show you that like if you present a visually aesthetic show with some good scoring and some really hot people, you can get away with literally whatever
Well,
you
I also
want.
think there's something to be said for like, it's always good when you recognize that people are gonna laugh at you and you're cool with it.
Yes, exactly.
They know it's absurd.
Yeah, they do know it's absurd.
When Dan Scott is texting his son Nathan, he's like, haven't heard from you in a while. Little nervous. Text me your stats when you're safe. Text me your stats.
when you're safe.
Well, it's always funny also whenever like guys who used to play high school sports reminisce and they're like, yeah, man, there was nothing like it. The lights of the arena, the cheering crowd in the arena. It's like, do you mean the high school gym and your bored classmates?
yeah. And he's
Is that what you
telling his
mean?
wife about, he's like, this is the best time in my life. And she's like, even better than the time with your family and your son? And he's like, it was just different.
Okay, that's also
Different.
really
It was
funny to me.
different.
It was
Like
just different.
when high school athletes act like they're like, we gotta win, like for school morale. Like the way that I've been, an attendee of a school with a sports team, never had any idea if they were winning or losing.
No,
Yeah.
that's
It
tea.
did not affect my mood one iota.
yeah, that's-
okay,
yeah.
like, I'm like it's
Nobody
just like
cares
literally
but them.
so funny, like that. they act like there's a weight of the world on their shoulders. Like they're like, we have to win. The whole town's counting on us. And I'm like, I can't even begin to tell you how much that isn't true.
The town is not counting on you.
Like no one cares about high school sports.
Well,
if you're in high school right now and you play sports, like, and you care, I'm glad that you care for you. And I'm sure
no,
like
it's
it'll
a
lead to great
rewarding
things and rewarding experience. But
they're like,
just
we gotta do this
know,
for the school.
just know your classmates don't give up.
Well,
for
I had
it.
a very unique experience as I was technically on my high school football team and I sucked. And so we would be like in the locker room at halftime and like the seniors who were good would be giving up these pump up speeches and they'd be like, we need to win. We need to dig deep. And I just be sitting in the back like, I don't need to win at all. And I will not be digging deep.
Don't need to dig deep.
I will be doing
digging
nothing.
shallow.
I will be digging shallow. If we win, lose.
He'll be thinking up a lie for why he can't go to the next practice. That lands a little better than the grandpa mug.
Yeah, that's what I'm
grandpa.
thinking.
They're like, you seem like how are you doing?
Yeah.
After the mugging.
One time I skipped a game because I didn't want to go. And then my mom said, why didn't you go to the game? And I said, oh, well, you know, the coaches said that I wasn't going to play in the game, so I shouldn't go because I had missed too many practices. And I was like, got him. But then we had parent-teacher conferences the next week where one of the coaches was also my math teacher. And what did my mom do? She goes, hey, so Robert said that you said he shouldn't come to the game because he missed too many practices. And my math teacher went, we never told him that at all. And then I was just sitting there. And I was like, what if I killed myself?
I do.
What if I killed myself?
I was thinking about this the other day.
You are the definition of like lies will always come back to bite you, bro.
But I was thinking about
Dude.
this where I'm like, so much of your childhood, at least for me, childhood and early teen years, were like realizing that a lie always comes around.
Yeah.
Like it was realizing like, oh, I literally cannot keep lying because otherwise I will forever be in these cycles of lie. Seems like it's going well. Seems like people are buying it. Blows up in my
He
face.
hasn't learned his lesson though, because he's still on the phone with his hairdresser. Like, yeah, I'm gonna be out of town this
All right,
weekend.
first of all,
he's on the phone
not
with a
my
Ukrainian hooker.
hairdresser, my barber, not my
Okay, sorry, I don't know what the
hairdresser.
boys call it, okay?
Yeah, not my hairdresser. I'm a man.
Okay.
I know,
Sorry,
and then you have to
didn't realize
hire
the
Aunt
hairdresser was
Sophie.
gay.
Yeah.
So
Dude, also at that same parent-teacher conference, I think, I was sitting with my mom and she was going on about how much I loved history. And she was like, and history is his favorite class, my favorite class. And I knew we were talking to my English teacher. So as my mom keeps talking about history, I'm kicking her leg. I'm giving her little kicks under the table. I'm just like, And what does my mom do? She goes, why are you kicking my leg right now? And then I had to explain. That is just like, man, no games were played.
No.
Moms don't get
Moms
hints
don't
like
give a
that.
shit.
Yeah.
You'll be like, hey, mom, can you like be cool right now? What if I was hotter than anyone's ever been?
I love why are you kicking my leg right
She goes,
now?
why are you kicking my leg right now? It's like, there's no element of
no subtlety, no nuance.
subterfuge.
Yeah.
And I'm all about, in those days, I was all about subterfuge.
Yeah, no,
'Cause I was always
same.
working an angle on
Yeah.
one teacher or another.
I mean, I always had a scheme going.
Yeah.
And you know what? None of them ever panned out very well.
Yeah.
No. The best laid plans, as they say.
The best laid plans. Dude,
What do they say about those? That they aren't laid that good.
the best laid plans ain't laid that
ain't
good.
laid that good.
I also love in we can't keep talking about One Tree Hill, but yeah, we can. I also love in One Tree Hill. There's
Can't we though?
But we can.
there's
we
this
can.
actor who plays the coach on One Tree Hill,
Whitey.
who I
Whitey.
love. He was also in Lonesome Dove,
The
that's
miniseries,
one of my favorite
which we
books and
love.
great miniseries. But he's just this like old Southern man, and he's clearly such a good actor that the writers of the show keep writing him scenes. But it's supposed to be like a young, hot, sexy high school show, and it just keeps cutting like this bold old man. He's like, you know, being a ball player, it's about fondant heart, son. And then it's just, you know, whatever hot high schooler they paired him with
Yeah.
goes, yeah, for sure.
But it's also funny because it's the hottest, youngest person and then like the oldest, baldest person. Like,
Yeah.
and it's just like the contrast is so funny because I'm like, no, you couldn't have two physically different people standing next to each other right now.
I also just like wonder if like because there was one scene where like the cool angsty cheerleader, all her scenes were just with Whitey the basketball coach.
Yeah.
And did you get that script? Just like, wow. Okay.
with Whitey.
All my scenes are with Whitey this week. And he's such a good actor.
He is.
I
He's a
get
great
why they wrote him
actor.
scenes, but it's just
Yeah.
like this is just so out of left field.
I mean, the show definitely it has a lot of weird shit. in it.
I feel so bad for you if you haven't seen Montreal.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Right now.
Sorry to the young alternators. But you should go watch it.
But if you have
Yeah.
also,
Also,
I'm
if
sure
you-
you're having a great time.
Also, it's like if you're watching the show we're watching, we'll inherently be more on the same wavelength. So
More
you
in
should
sync.
all go watch it.
And instead, you guys are like, have you been tuning into Peacock's Shoshana's Hat Shop? No.
And
We
haven't been watching Shoshana's Hat Shop.
I love at the end of season 2 when you see a hat float by.
Is the hat?
When we finally meet Shoshana.
When we finally
We're like,
meet
who's
At the end of season 2, someone is in a hospital and it pans away from them to like the baby room, and one of the babies has a little name tag that says Shoshana, and then it never gets renewed for season 2. And if it does, it's in 20 years.
TV now be like
Shoshana's
TV
Hat
now
Shop
be like-
season 2 when?
Yeah.
Season 2
Meanwhile,
when?
no one has seen any of
Yeah.
season
No
1.
one's seen season 1.
Anyway.
Sometimes, all right, here's the thing. Sometimes actors will promote a show, like the first season of their show, by being like, we need season 2. We need season 2. You guys better make sure we get season 2. And I'm like, why the fuck are you telling me?
Right.
I
I
don't
don't
work
control
in
this.
development at Paramount Plus.
I don't.
I have no role. If it were up to me, I'd be like, give everybody a season 2.
So real.
Team.
yeah.
Like I don't control that.
I don't control
Why
that.
are you talking to me?
Yeah, why are you telling
talking
me?
to me?
Someone's like on TikTok being like, and we need season 2. And I'm like, as if I'm like slacking at my job on Peacock.
Yeah. I mean, you need to be doing more letter writing. Oh wait, that actually brings me to, were you ever like such a big fan of a TV show when you were like a teenager or a kid where you'd be on, I think it was called like Ratings Bear. Like I think that's what it was called. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
Okay, so it was basically like there was a couple sites that would predict whether a show would come back or not. Like, and I remember literally there were some shows, like niche shows on CW, that I think I did write an email to the CW about this show Hidden Palms. I should look and see if I have it. But people were like, no, you guys should be writing to the network to renew our show.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
So there is something you can do.
Yeah.
But that was the
But that
olden
was
days.
the olden days. Also,
Oh,
that was
okay.
when, renewals were based on how many people were watching it. And now I'm not really sure what
Now
renewals
it's all
are
about
based
viewing
on.
minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, man.
We don't really know what's
I
going
don't
on.
know shit about. All I know is that I tune into One Tree Hill and they've got Whitey talking to like a hot cheerleader about what it means to be a country boy.
And that's TV.
And that's TV.
And that's
television.
real TV.
Yeah, I mean that's always the funniest. Like the adult storylines on any of these kind of like high school shows. And of course, the high schoolers are all played by 30-year-olds, but like the adults are then played by 60-year-olds.
Yeah.
In order to like make the 30-year-olds look like
Look
high
like-
schoolers,
yeah.
they have to cast 60-year-olds as all the adults.
My favorite part about like Pretty Little Liars though was that every girl's mom, someone did an article about this, every single girl's mom in Pretty Little Liars was only 8 years older than the girl.
That's so funny.
So like every
That's
mom,
hilarious.
Yeah.
like every girl was 30 playing 18, and every mom was 38 playing 38.
Well, that's always what I said about like the pandemic, where it's like I think I went into the pandemic at 25
Yeah.
and I think I left it at 28. So it's like I entered as a CW teen and I left it as a CW grandpa.
So freaking true.
And that's
so
how I measure
real.
time.
Yeah.
Where am I in the CW of it all?
Measure in
and
CW
now,
casting potential.
and now
seasons.
I'm 30, which I think means that the only part for me on the CW would be Whitey. I would play Whitey.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
play
I
the
can
old
see you
ancient
No,
man.
wait, you would be a great Dan Scott. Like real talk, you would be
Yeah.
a great like over-involved
Yeah,
evil
you'd be great
dad.
at being
You'd
like,
be
I couldn't let you score the
I
winning
couldn't let you score the winning basket, son.
shoves your child.
Well, that's also a funny thing about One Tree Hill. By the way, this is a One Tree Hill rewatch podcast. But like, because so much of the show is about high school basketball, they'll basically have just like full-on dialogue scenes
On the court.
mid-basketball
Yeah,
game.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like two players will be like, "Yeah, you think that you're gonna make my dad proud with this one? Nah, he's not my dad. He's just yours. Say what you want, but the same blood flows through both our veins. Bastard, gonna call me a bastard? My mom's a truer parent." And I imagine the other players on the court just like,
All right,
"Yeah,
is
we
he
can
gonna
hear
pass?
you."
Like, is he gonna
Yeah.
give it to the wall?
Hey, do you guys need to like check
Also,
out
like,
of the game?
that's how we know they're not good at basketball, because they're so distracted.
Right.
Like they're so actively not.
Full
Their head is
convos
not in the
during the
game.
game. Yeah.
Gotta
They're
get my
both-
head in the game.
as we
Their
say,
head's not in the game.
They both are like 5'10" white guys. It's the funniest thing in the world. Well,
Acting like they're going pro.
Well, Robert always like points like a random black guy in the background. He's like, "What does he think?
what does he think about this? What does he think about all this rhetoric being like the two best players on the team? It's either this 5'10" white guy or this 5'10" white guy. I'm like, can I hear from that guy in the back?
Yeah, can we hear from him?
Can I see
What does
the
he
real
think?
stat sheet? Like, for all we know, we look at like the real stats, assuming this is real, and it's just like the black guys out like tripling their points, and just no one cares. Because
No one
Dan
gives a
Scott's
shit.
not pushing for him.
I mean, also One Tree Hill very much vibes like this is Dan Scott's like fever dream.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it
Again,
feels
I
like
feel
we're
so
watching
bad for
the
anybody
show.
who's-
Yeah.
but we can jump into
Sorry.
something
What
we
What
have
is
to.
happening?
But in High School Musical 1, there's
Yes.
this shot, there's a tracking shot of the entire basketball team lined up, and you see that they're all about Zac Efron's height. And we happen to know that real life Zac Efron is like what?
5'9".
5'9".
Yeah.
So we confirmed that this is a basketball team of entirely 5'9" players.
Yeah.
They're
what
not
of it?
winning anything.
No.
They're not winning a thing.
Well, then there is a point in the second one where he's playing with like real basketball players who are cameoing
Yeah.
or something, and it's the height difference is crazy.
Well, he goes to he gets back from his practice with like the college players, and his
Yeah.
and his line of dialogue is, "Wow, they're so tall." It's like, yeah, Troy, you play basketball.
Yeah.
They're tall.
You're supposed to be tall.
But it is crazy, the juxtaposition.
Well, but that's one of my favorite things when watching like any like show is whenever sports come up, you can always tell which writer's room and which actors have never played sports before. Well, in Riverdale, there's that shot of like the guy's supposed to be the star quarterback, and he's like, I'm gonna imagine mime throwing this. He's like, he's doing dialogue. He's like, yeah, you know, we got that big game coming up. And I'm like, you have no big game coming up. You've
No
never
big
had a
game
big game.
coming up.
And neither have I, but come on.
But come on now.
But also, neither have I, but I would look more like that I had a big game coming up
Yeah.
just because I know how to throw a football. It's
Right.
like, so you must have really never had.
No. Like a game was never even on the table in any
Yeah.
way, shape, or form for you.
Yeah. I also like High School Musical, not to just make this the whole thing, but it's full of things where people use quote unquote sports lingo, but really it's just clearly the writers didn't know any sports lingo, so they made it up. It's the way like in Get Your Head in the Game, he's like, take the outside, Jay. That means nothing in basketball. Take the outside, Jay.
You never taken the outside J.
Yeah, no.
I always do that when I play b-ball.
Oh,
That's
you
why
play
she be.
b-ball.
That's why she be winning.
And I'm always like, yo, take
hooping
the
on these
outside J.
boys.
Well,
Yeah.
that would be a great viral video that I'm never gonna make. But it's like you go to like a real pickup basketball game and you just exclusively speak in High School Musical lines.
That's really funny. You should actually do that.
I don't have
outside
it in
J.
me.
Why?
'Cause
I
I'm
just
not
saw a video.
disciplined enough.
Tara Yummy went and like in a video she went to like a random rec center and like joined a pickup basketball game.
That's
Like
hilarious.
just
hilarious.
like just to be like to test my social anxiety basically, but
That's
which
hilarious.
is really funny. But I'm like, no, you should like you. I mean, you literally can. You could just go to a pickup.
Yeah.
I'll film it for you.
And then only use
Should we do
lingo from High
it? I
School
literally like
Musical.
that would be
The
so
way
funny.
you would rather die than do that.
I'm not gonna do that.
Why?
Because I can, but because sincerely,
Yeah.
I know I can go viral by just making a video that's
Right.
like, what if my
Yeah, so why would he
roommate
do
was
that?
Troy Bolton?
Right.
Maybe that's not bad. You know what I mean? Like,
that's not bad.
what if my roommate
Because
was?
what if this got like 24 million views? Like
Yeah.
you crashing pickup basketball and using High School Musical lingo.
I don't know, but then I'm like,
And
I
what
don't
if
know.
it got 240? What then?
Yeah.
Also a possibility.
Guy whose ex-girlfriend is the Kraken from Dead Man's Chest. I know I can go viral with that without ever leaving my room, so I'm not gonna go.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I think whenever I see someone doing something crazy unhinged to go viral, and and I'm like,
Like, just say you're dating.
Just
Just
you're
do wait, what?
dating Jamie
you know,
Jones.
you can like go viral just by doing a wait. Wait, dude. I think your girlfriend might actually be the Kraken. That's all you need to do.
Not everyone is that creative though.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, all right, I'll say this. If anyone out there wants to make the video where they go to a real life pickup basketball game and they exclusively use lines from High School Musical, sports lingo from High School Musical, you can take that. And I'll say this also. If anyone out there wants to make a video where they say their girlfriend is the Kraken from Dead Man's Chest,
Go
you can do
for
that
it.
too. And we'll see which will do
Robert
better.
has happily gifted you both of those content
Yeah,
ideas.
you're welcome.
You're
Yeah, but also
welcome.
if they go viral, I won't say anything, but just know I'll be fuming.
Yeah.
he'll be freaking
Tease.
pissed.
I'll be in my car watching them like, this should be better.
also, okay, I was watching some of our newly released old eps.
We've been opening up the archive.
Yes.
And I was just cackling at how Dana and I have been talking about the same things for years. Like in this episode, we're talking about how we won't go to the post office, and how going to the post office is such hard work. And I'm like, the way that we still to this day are
Okay.
like, we hate going to the
I
post
had a thought
office.
about that, but I was like, okay, on one hand, no character development. On
No,
the other
but
hand,
then-
what would the character develop into? I'm a postman now?
Postman.
And I was like,
No, but there was character development because you were like, I was like, oh, I wish there was a way to mail things from home. And you were like, I think there is, but I don't know how. And then we were both like, well, shucks.
And now
Yeah.
she
but
mails things from
now
home.
I do be mailing shit from home.
And if you go watch our old episodes, it's on this channel. So just go back. You'll see the earliest
Rice
ones.
Chex Gate is
Yeah,
that
but one of them was Rice Chex Gate, where back then Eve and Dana were both making fun of me for overstepping what Eve considered to be normal household behavior and then making fun of me for being weird and trying to use weird lies to get out of it. And now it's developed to like I'm treated with the utmost respect. I would never be mocked. And and Eve loves it when she has food and I take some. And I think that's awesome.
And that's how much has changed.
And that's how much has changed.
Do you set your topics?
That was one of them, actually. I was going to bring up just the old episodes. How it's crazy how, like, literally what's important to us has clearly been the same for years.
Well, because
Yeah.
we're consistent people. We know who we are, and we're not afraid to talk about it over and over and over
again.
And the bravery in that.
Oh, I will say, I look at those. You can know we've referenced this before, but go look. I literally look like I'm malnourished.
Right.
I
Yeah.
have bags under my eyes. I look like shit.
Well, Robert says it looks like he's taking the super soldier serum
Now.
from
Now.
Captain America.
It looks like I look like myself pre-serum. And again,
What was
not
his
to be
name?
like I looked jacked or crazy good now. It's just like I looked like Gollum before.
What was Captain America's name?
Steve Rogers.
Steve Rogers.
Or Sam Wilson now. Because the Falcon is Captain America.
Got it. But he never took the serum.
I mean, I think it might be a plot point in the new movie we didn't see where maybe he takes the serum or not. That actually was the reaction of general audiences to the new Captain America movie. They're
Was
like,
that-
Like,
okay.
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 That's there. That
Okay.
exists.
The only thing I have in my notes
Yeah.
is shitting your pants lane.
Oh, I love shitting your pants lane. Do you want to explain what shitting your pants lane? What?
Yeah, I
Robert?
actually have a related topic to shitting your pants lane, but let's. Yeah, I literally do.
He was like pissed gun shitting your pants lane, but no,
Well,
this
just
is really
telling you
this is
what's in my-
important. Also, this is like potential
What's in my
Yeah,
legislation.
can you scooch a little closer? to you a little bit?
This is potential legislation.
I can't even explain that. I'm so
But
sad.
basically, like, we'll be driving back from somewhere, and like, I'll have to shit my pants, and I'll be like, and we'll be stuck in traffic, and I'm like, there needs to be a special lane for when you need to shit your pants. But then we were like, obviously, the lane would be abused by people who don't
actually need to shit their pants.
and they're just trying to get out of traffic. But we're like, so the plan.
So there has to be real consequences.
So the consequence would be if you get pulled over in the shit your pants lane and you don't actually have to shit your pants, it's a $10,000 ticket. But if you get pulled over and you do actually have to shit your pants, meaning you shit your pants
you
and
shit
you
your
get pulled over,
pants, yeah.
what do we decide?
the
Like
cop goes to jail.
the cop goes to jail, they lose their
Wait, for
badge.
how
So the
long,
cop
you
has to
think?
be,
How long do they go to jail?
let's say, a year with the stinkies.
Okay.
A year with the Sinkies. I like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's like there's a shit your pants lane
yeah.
where if you need to shit your pants, you get in that lane and you just
Yeah.
race home.
Yeah.
But if you get caught abusing it, it's $10,000. But if you get pulled over and you do have to shit your pants, simply
Shit your pants. All you have to do is shit your pants.
and there will be justice.
And they will go to jail.
And there will be justice.
And so we think it'll create a good dynamic and that like cops will be really afraid to pull people over that
but
they
also there's a
don't
big enough
think,
risk.
but also there's
But
big
also
enough
you'd be
risk.
afraid to abuse
People
it.
only use it when they truly need to. But then we were saying, like, imagine you go to shit your pants lane, and then like your crush is like a lane over.
Yeah.
And you stop at the red, and you look over, and
your crush is like,
sees
oh my
you.
god, she's in the shit
In
her
the
pants
shit her
lane.
pants
Yeah.
And later they're like,
lane.
hey, I saw you in the shit your pants lane. And you're like, no, that wasn't me. And they're like, oh yeah, what'd you have for lunch? Chili. A lot of chili and dairy to wash it down. So there you go. The shit your pants
Yeah,
lane. I
the
actually
shit
think
your
that's
pants
a
lane.
great plan.
I think it's great.
I think it's a good.
Also,
yeah,
there'd be
that
no
was-
element of jealousy. It's like if you're in traffic and you see people in the shit your
Yeah.
pants lane racing
it's like
past,
they
you're like,
really need
they
it.
need to
They
shit
wanna
their
shit their
pants.
pants.
Yeah,
This
they
reminds me,
would-
sometimes we'll be driving back from Soul Cycle and Dana and I will be yapping and I'll just kind of realize like Eve hasn't spoken for like 10 minutes and I'll be like, Eve, why aren't you talking? And Eve will be like, I need the shit your pants lane. So it's also a good kind of dignified code.
I'm just sitting there thinking, why isn't this real? Why don't they have a shitting your pants lane?
Well, people say like necessity is the mother of
Invention,
invention. So
Plato.
we just need some high-ranking political official to shit their pants in traffic.
Tea.
And we'll get the movement we need.
That's to you.
That's so real. But I feel like the politicians we have now, they shit their pants and then they only make it like for themselves.
For the rich.
Like they
real.
own, yeah, exactly.
Well, in a way, you could argue toll roads are the shit your pants
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
I guess.
Remember when Trump first ran for president? I think he said he was going to make every road a toll road, and that never came to fruition.
Yeah. I mean, he just kind of says stuff.
You do be saying
Yeah.
shit.
No offense to any of the young old naders who love Trump.
We love you too.
We love you.
Yeah, stick around.
Stick around.
Stick around.
The shit your pants lane reaches across the
Right,
aisle.
that's for everyone.
It's for Republicans, it's for
everyone.
Democrats,
Actually,
it's for centrists.
I want to address one rumor
Oh,
that
that
I
people
saw.
think that you're right wing
Yeah,
now.
someone said on a Reddit post that I was right wing now. Not right wing. I'm not right wing. That's all I'll say.
That's all you'll
But
say.
I'm not right wing.
Yeah.
But they
Eve,
also think
Eve
that-
is right wing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Eve is.
Yeah,
and so
I
is
am.
Biter.
No,
but
Robert's
not
favorite
me.
bit to our mom is telling her that I have like tons
Yeah.
of MAGA merch. And
We have talked
done-
about this.
We have talked
Oh,
about this for
yeah?
sure.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but hey, guess what? I've done the bit before. It doesn't stop me from
know.
keeping it
That's
coming.
tea,
That's tea.
Because actually, middle-aged Democrat women there's no such thing as a bit about someone
Being right,
liking
yeah,
Trump and be like
that's
right
tea.
wing.
That's no-
Because
But
like
they
also
also-
my mom will be like, Biter voted for Trump, and my mom will be like,
What?
I don't think Trump would like Biter. Like you know what I mean? Like there's a sincere attempt. Like even
Does
if I say
Biden know-
voting against
Yeah.
his interest.
Does Biter
Yeah.
know that Trump would have him deported in a minute?
yeah.
to wear Fresno.
Yeah, real. That's where Biter's from.
I was joking around with like this comedian in LA, and they're like, a slightly older kind of woman, like in this age range, and I just jokingly was like, "Hey, you voted for Trump, right? You're a big Trump fan," like that, and she went, "No, no, I'm not," and then I had to be like, "Oh yeah, no, you're not. No, you're not. I was just joking."
It was just a joke.
But since Dana was off social, people do think that she was locked away in Mexico and Robert was
Well, there were all sorts
running
of
all
theories.
of her.
Yeah,
her-
we
running her
discovered
life.
some new theories recently about
One theory was that Dana moved to Mexico,
Yeah.
and was in
And
Mexico.
we think that
Yeah.
this stemmed from
Robert and I took-
story or something that
Robert and I
Robert
took a trip to
posted.
Cabo.
where we stayed at like a 5-star resort.
Yeah.
And
So
they're like, oh, she ran away to Mexico.
Okay, so I didn't run away to Mexico. I
and
was
then
there
another
for a
one
brief,
was like
brief
there
period.
was a theory that like obviously we've addressed the theory that I murdered her, but that's old hat. That's kind of
Yeah,
boring.
old hat.
There was another theory that quote I pulled the strings to get Dana to delete her social media, which again I'm like, what even are the strings?
Yeah,
what
strings?
strings?
Also-
what strings? Also, Robert was begging me
I
to
was
get back on social
begging. I was like,
begging
please.
me. He's like, can you please just be yourself on social media?
But also, as we've said, it's like those types of theories, like they're all just shit talking disguised
Guys,
as concern.
yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, in order to think that I am like some sort of like Rasputin like social media string puller, you have to like want to hate us both so badly. Like,
And
there's nothing to
so-
say to that.
we would like to say sorry, but we were fine the whole time.
Great. Now cut the cameras. Well done, puppet. Now delete your Instagram.
And now I'll be
And there's
deleting my
also
Instagram.
people saying that like when Dana was tweeting that Robert was writing her tweets, and when Robert was tweeting that Dana was
Well,
writing his.
we were talking about
Yeah.
this. It predates the pandemic.
predates the
But
pandemic,
there
yeah.
is a rumor going around the LA comedy scene, because it was after I started going viral on Twitter a little bit, that Dana was writing my tweets for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, mother, you guys can't fucking ever give it up.
But then there was also rumors that I was so crazy and untalented. I had no idea that I was even being funny, and that all the tweets that I had that were viral, it was an accident.
Because you're
because
just
I'm just so
nuts.
crazy.
So it's
but
like
also, I'm the mastermind that's helping Robert go
Right.
viral.
So
Yeah.
she's
So-
talentless, but also
Yeah.
when Robert has something pop up.
But
it's
we were saying there's a lot of
actually
assumptions that
just
like both
goes
Robert and
written.
I are talentless hacks who can only do work for each other.
Yeah.
But also, I was saying that almost comes back around to being heartwarming. It's
Yeah.
like we're both talentless, stupid, crazy hacks, but we've just come together to assist one another to reach online success. I'm like, well, that's kind of nice.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's, the romance for the 21st century.
That's a romance for the 21st.
Oh, I wanted to do a segment of like things I just want to say so I can say that
Isn't
I
that
was
the whole
first.
pod?
Right.
Oh, okay.
No, like just I want to start right now. I think
Well, say your thing. So it's for clippability purpose.
Okay.
Say things I just want to say.
things I just want to say. The D'Amelio family are deep state operatives. I don't know if I
This
believe
is
that.
what you needed the segment for.
but you just want to say
I
that
just
in
wanna
case
say
that ever
in case
comes
that ever
out.
comes out, I think that they really might be like a social media family working for the CIA.
Well, people always do that with sports where they'll be like, I just want to say this right now. This player is going to be the best player in the league. And then in a few years, the players go and they quote retweet themselves to be like, told you. But they don't quote retweet all the other times where they were just wrong.
Right,
They were
all
just
the
so
other like
wrong.
insane shit they said.
Sidekicks on TikTok will like stitch themselves from a year ago having a perfect prediction, but then you go to their page and they're doing every prediction under the sun, and it's like, you're gonna
land on one
right twice a day.
Yeah.
So
I'm just gonna say this: Barron Trump will win Survivor 55.
yeah.
I love that prediction.
I like it too.
That's a good one.
I bet.
Okay.
I bet he might do well on Survivor. Do you think he'd try to tell people he wasn't Trump? He'd be like, "Yeah, my name's Barron Schweisberg."
Dude, it would be crazy if he said he was Barron Schweisberg.
And then the one guy who's pretending he's not a cop, but in real life he is a cop. Obviously, he's locked into like the right wing ecosphere, and he's like, "That's Barron. That's the prodigal son."
Yeah.
I love how we're writing the plot for a Survivor season starring Barron Trump.
Pretty interesting.
But if Barron Trump wins Survivor 55, pretty good. Eve, do you have any crazy predictions you'd like to make?
Bro, I don't know.
just say something.
No, let
Just predict
her
something.
find one. Let her find one.
I don't like being put on the spot like this.
What's a crazy prediction? Name a celebrity.
Yeah. Let's do Mad Lib's crazy prediction.
Yeah, name a celebrity.
Okay, Jennifer Aniston.
Okay.
Jennifer
Jennifer
Aniston.
Aniston.
Now name a location.
Hawaii.
Jennifer Aniston, Hawaii. Now name a natural disaster. Name something crazy, a disaster. It doesn't have to be natural, but something crazy, some crazy thing.
The orphanage burned down.
Jennifer Aniston will burn down an orphanage in Hawaii. Eve's words. All right, actually, you say it in the camera.
Yeah.
Jennifer Aniston will burn down an orphanage in Hawaii.
All
But what
right.
if it's to like free the what if it's like
That counts.
That counts.
And it's like no, but like it's like one of those things where it's like the prediction was supposed to be doom and gloom, but then it turns out like she was freeing the orphan.
I feel like so many.
That's beautiful.
That's a big like That's So Raven thing, right? Like she would predict some sort of disaster, but then actually when it
then
plays
it's
out, it's
actually
not that
okay.
bad.
Right.
But also the whole thing about That's So Raven is like, I really love the ultimate message of That's So Raven, which is that like the future is inevitable, but you can't freak out about it because
gotta just chill.
the prophecy will come to fruition regardless of what you do. So just let it unfold.
Okay, I've got a prediction. Raven Simone will come in second in Survivor 55.
Next to Barron.
Next to Barron.
I love this casting of the season. Would it be like a celebrity season or just like?
Maybe. I think maybe. Sure.
Well, they're doing a celebrity season this upcoming
They've
season.
actually done a
for
lot of
Survivor 50.
celebrity seasons, but then the celebrities are all like Survivor celebrities.
Although
don't
I
know.
do think we should go on Survivor like relatively soon.
Again, we've discussed this. I'm like, I'd be down. I'm in theory pretty down.
Get on it.
I have seen so many people with podcasts are also people who are like, I want to be on Survivor. And I'm like, ugh, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh, everyone who's comfortable in front of a camera, who's like in moderately good shape, also is like, I'm going to be on Survivor.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
But actually,
yeah.
low-key, you don't actually need to be in good shape to be successful in Survivor. In fact, a lot of people who do go far in Survivor actually are in pretty bad shape.
Because they don't get voted out.
They don't
That's
get voted
true.
out. They get
They're
kept
not
around.
seen as physical threats.
If you can survive, here's the thing. You want to be someone who's in bad shape on a really good team
Yes,
early.
that is- you
so
wanna
that
be
way
in a
you don't
strong
go to
tribe.
tribal early, but then after the merge.
yeah. And then you're not
Yeah.
seen as a threat after the merge.
Here's the thing. If you're someone who's never seen Survivor or never seen One Tree Hill, this podcast is nothing to you.
Or maybe you like
It's
it.
the entry
Maybe
point.
it is.
You're learning
yeah.
a lot.
I wanted to bring this up real quick because I
Yes.
got in like as we were watching like the old episodes of Young Old that we've unarchived, and this wasn't discussed in them. I got to think about things that didn't make it to Young Old, but I think bear discussion, and I'm going to bring this up. There was an event that happened post after we stopped doing Young Old, pre us bringing us back. And it's called, this is the real title of it. It was kind of Poopy Flakes Gate. And let me just paint a picture for you. Eve became convinced that I, Robert, was using her bathroom to shit. There's no way. She was convinced of this. Why? Because she would look in the toilet and there would be flakes
but
of
then
poop in there.
There was one time when I think that something was happening in your room, so you used to. Then I was like, "What? Who's in my bathroom?" And then you came out, and then I was like, "The poopatrator."
No, the poopatrator. The poopatrator.
I
So
was like, I put it all. So then when I saw you coming out of the bathroom that
I had to
one
pee
time,
that time.
all the like pieces in my head like
Came
clicked
together.
to me.
the pieces of poop, the
and
flakes
I
of
was like,
poop.
and I was like, "Wow, the poopatrator."
It's like Tom Marvel a riddle, but it's all the flakes of poop coalescing
Yes.
into a Robert sculpture. But
That's
guess
what I
what? I
thought.
didn't use it to poop that time. So I used her bathroom once to pee to pee. But Eve became convinced because of that, and because she would
That
see
you were the
poopy
poop
flakes,
trader.
that I was the poopatrator. And when there's video of this, Dana has it on her phone. Eve's laughing now, but that's part of my frustration. Eve came down so hard. I'm talking loaded up. I'm talking, what's another one?
Milkgate,
I'm talking
Rice
Milkgate,
Chex
loaded
Gate.
up. She was coming at me, accusing me of the poopy flakes, which,
Yes.
by the way, is an insane thing to be accused of. There's no way to, with dignity, be like, well, those were not my poopy flakes. And they weren't. And basically, it was confirmed that the poopy flakes were in fact Dana's. It wasn't me. It was Dana. And the worst part of that was
I tried to volunteer that maybe it was me. Like it wasn't. No,
weak.
I did. It's in the video. I have
it's
video
so
proof.
weak in the video. Eve is just curb stomping me in the dirt, and Dana's like, "Well, it could be me," which Eve didn't hear because her blood was up
Eve
and
did
she was
hear.
coming
Eve
from
kept
my
being
throat.
Like, Eve wanted it to be you. She wanted it to
to
be
be
you.
me.
I saw you that one time. Like I just it was in my bones. I was like, it's gotta be him.
Like I did volunteer that. I'm like,
But
look, no one wants to be associated with poopy flakes, but I'm like, I guess maybe those
And
could have been my
once
poopy
it
flakes.
kind of,
Which
the
is
truth
crazy
came
and
out,
brave to admit.
it was Dana's poopy flakes. And the worst part was, when that truth came out and it was revealed to Eve, her reaction was, okay.
Yeah.
As if it didn't matter to
Yeah.
her. When it was the most important thing in the world to her, when she thought it was me.
It's
and
like-
as soon as I was exonerated, bruh, okay.
It's like if you only cared about a murder trial if someone that you didn't like was being convicted, and then the
Yes.
second that person was exonerated, you were like, oh, I don't care that person
Oh,
was
I actually
murdered.
don't care
I
about
don't give a
murder.
fuck about that murder.
Oh, I don't care.
It was very much that. Because she
Okay.
really was approaching it with the fervor of like you
A
killed
fervor.
someone.
A fervor.
A fervor.
For a
Yeah.
long
And then
time.
the second that we were like, oh, it was Dana, just there was
Okay.
no
Pure
I got nothing
disinterest.
to say for myself.
Yeah. Nothing to say.
Yeah.
She had a
Nothing
lot to
say
say.
for
She did. At
myself.
the
It was
time.
in her bones. She had so much to say. But then I was exonerated.
Also, it's like
Yeah.
I don't even know who that is anymore. Like the me that was yelling about
Yeah.
poopy flakes, like I'm a different person. I don't even know who that is now.
Yeah.
You're a different person. You can mail things from the house.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're a different person. But
Things
again,
have changed.
you're a different person in the sense that you no longer care about poopy flakes purely because it's not me. But obviously, you're the same person that you do care about Loaded Up. You do care about Milkgate. Like this, it's not like you're beyond these sort of petty concerns. You're just
No, but it's like
But you
even
do
now,
love to catch chubs in a household debacle. Like
Yeah.
that's
love it. In fact, I hate it.
no, but you
I
take
also
it.
don't
I
love
think
the
you-
word debacle because that implies
What?
again that I am committing a debacle.
But also, when I was listening to the Rice Chex episode, I had like completely forgotten about that. And listening to it, I was like, "This girl's making a lot of points."
It's so funny because Robert and I will listen
girl's
to
making a
Young Old,
lot of
and Robert
points.
also has the same exact take about himself, where he's
Right.
always like,
I
he's
listen
always
to it, I'm like, that's
making a lot of
exactly what
points.
I'd say in that scenario.
And you know what? I listen to this podcast and I think she's spitting. She's spitting.
And then when you two talk in the podcast, I'm like, who are these old crones?
You're like, I have something to say to that, and then you hear yourself.
Yeah, I'm
and you're
like,
like, oh, okay, he's
yeah.
got me. He's
I'm
got
like,
me back.
here's what I would tell these ladies
Yeah.
if I was there, and then I am there. Man, it is. That also kind of reminds me of like I watched Love Island USA last summer along with everyone else, and it's so funny to watch a show as a man that largely has a female audience because I would watch the show, I would see a guy do something, and I'd be like, fuck yeah, that's exactly what I would do if I was in this situation. And then I would go online, and every woman watching the show is like, that sick twisted fuck did this sick twist. Anyone who would do this needs to be thrown into the ocean.
Yeah.
And I'm like liking it. I'm like, yeah, for sure. It's a learning curve.
Yeah, because you're a sick, twisted fuck.
Dude. I watched Rice Chex Gate and I was like, man. I watch Rice Chex Gate and I am just like, they got me. They got me then. They
Yeah.
got me now.
Yeah.
This is a good little advertisement for Rice Chex Gate.
Rice Chex Gate. Great up of Young
Great
Old.
up.
Great up
Do
of
we have
Young
anything
Old.
else to say to the Young Oldenators?
Oh, well, somebody said I missed when Eve was nice to Dana. And to that I say, when are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember that
know
either.
what you're
and then
talking
Eve
about.
said in the car the other day, read that quote, I've been dissing this bitch my whole life. But that wasn't anything. I'm like, I
what are you
don't.
talking about? What do you mean?
It's interesting because I'm like, I wouldn't describe our dynamic as you've been dissing this bitch your whole life, but I'm like, am I missing the disses?
Can I say something about that?
Yeah.
I also think, although Eve will hit you with some stuff, like whenever Dana's underwear
Oh my
pokes
God.
above Dana's pants, Eve will go, wow, going full diaper.
No, she'll be
I
like,
see.
she'll like, you're flashing diape.
Diaper.
So
Short for
rude.
diaper.
No, the other day your diaper matched your tank top, and I was like, ooh, matching diaper.
Like, it's so rude to like. Okay, it's also like
Diaper?
I think I'm going for like cool
No, and
Y2K.
I said
like
that to you. I was like, you think it's giving like the Y2K whale tail thong moment, and like
and
Megan
she's like,
Fox.
it's giving diape.
But it's giving pull-ups. But then we were saying like,
It's giving
we were saying, like,
Pampers.
Dana being like, oh, I'm wearing this new brand. It's Hoogie. And we're like, you mean Huggies, Dana? And also I was like, oh, haha, I bet you would have fancy diaper for the wedding. And then she goes, well, yeah, for the reception, I could have a tasteful bloomer moment. And I'm like,
Can't say tasty
so
bloomer.
you admit it.
Tasteful. A taste like if I want to wear a short little white dress, I would want a tasteful lace bloomer
And that
underneath.
is exactly what I was talking about. I was like, I can't believe she is admitting it, that she's going to flash diaper at the wedding.
There's also another element for you to remember here. It's like Eve's standard for what warrants an Eve verbal response is very high. Like if you say like a lot of times you'll be like, good morning, Eve, she won't respond. How are you, Eve? She won't respond. But when she sees, to quote her, Dana's diaper, suddenly she's like, she's got a lot to say.
begs to be commented on.
A
But
diaper.
like when I'm literally begging for you to comment back to me, hey Eve, what's in that cool dish you're making?
But
See,
the
thing,
diaper.
those are all your comments. All your comments are about the dish, and it's like,
What about
get
when?
something else to comment on, bruh?
What about like when like we'll say like good morning?
Yeah.
I grunt.
Yeah, you grunt. You grunt.
Also, okay, the other day, Robert and I were driving home and we see Eve on her walk and we like waved to her from the car and she like doesn't acknowledge us. And then later we're like, dude, you have to like wave back. Like, that's really weird for you to. And she's literally like, oh, like I looked at you. She's like, I
Yes.
thought that was.
But in my head, like, I'm waving.
But that's you
In
don't
my
have
head.
powers. You don't. Eve thinks that
should
she's like
know
some
that,
sort of
like-
like ancient pharaoh where just her gaze is honor enough.
Is it not?
But also, we stop. We see her. We wave. She looks at us and just. And by the way, she's walking, so it's a sustained. I'm like, we saw you.
To me,
We're
it's just like,
interactive.
you get that I saw you.
Also, like the good morning and you
no.
grunt. The fact that in your head you're like, what? I grunted. What do you mean you grunt? Good morning.
I'm just like, so much is expected of me. I feel like Nathan in One Tree Hill.
But
You're always asking me to send my stats.
and the stats are just like, my day's nice. Good
Yeah,
morning to you.
good morning.
But my point is, Eve is like that. And she's like, oh, I don't want to say anything. But then suddenly she gets a glimpse of Dana's diaper. And suddenly, full energy, full
love
engagement.
You love the term diaper.
Well,
and you
diaper is
think
just
it's
funny. I've never
hilarious.
heard someone describe an adult woman's normal underwear as a diaper before.
I
I
don't
think
like
they're
it.
Target's kids' underwear.
They are.
Yeah,
Bro.
I got your ass, bro.
Because they're affordable and adorable.
Dude, I gotta admit, that doesn't help our cause right now. That doesn't help our cause.
Again, Dana be like, the brand is Pump It. I'm like, you mean Pampers, bitch?
Pompier.
Pump, yay.
All right.
Good night, young old.
This episode brought to you by Pompier Adult
Pompier.
Diaper.
And
Wedding
One
edition
Tree
coming
Hill.
soon.
Wedding edition coming soon.
Good
We will see